Hello and welcome to today's content where we'll be talking about the great Stag vision card evaluation and analysis since it has been released, and yeah. So let's get talking about it because the vision card is released and let's see if it's really worth it just for Jaden or if there are better alternatives. Without further ado, however, let's begin. So first things first, info and stats. HP is going to be on the high side of 367, literally nearing 400. Unfortunately, it is 400. However, it is pretty high. 135 magic is not bad at all. It's better than being below 120 or 100 at all. So it's decent magic. And then 47 dex. Obviously, dex is going to be mostly useful, mostly for like gunner related things and or critical hits, just in general, which is going to be more related to gunners, obviously. For the unit effects, the light attack up is going to be up to 15 light attack up, so that's pretty nice. And for Jaden specifically, he's going to get 10% HP as well as 30% acquired AP up, so that's pretty nice to have in terms of the AP acquired up. The HP 10%, I'll explain why that's not too big of a deal, but you'll see what I mean. But overall, the acquired AP up is definitely nice to have. For the party effects, it's going to be the AOE resistance for light units. Instead of having to use like the Winter Holiday or like Death Machine, this is going to be basically the replacement for it in that regard. From here, you're also going to get a little bit of missile attack up to 18, and then you get 35% dex. As we said earlier, dex is mostly going to be beneficial towards either critical hits and or gunner slash missile damage. So the main users of this vision card obviously is going to be Jaden for sure, because not only is Jaden like a gunner, but he also gets his bestowed like benefits from there. From here, Yuna will be a good card holder for this vision card, mostly because she already has a good amount of base AoE resistance. Having this vision card, the bonus off it, is like way more beneficial in general. From here, Elena does actually have a decently good base dex, and the AoE resistance will just help her survivability in general, especially if she's going to either like go evasion or something. Having a little bit more survivability from the AoE resistance is very nice. And lastly, I know some people can probably like notice that immediately, but there is a tiny little Fina in the top right corner. I know people are going to be like, wait, this vision card is going to be like really good for Fina. Let's just go with, there are already better options for Fina to deal damage, and she's not going to be able to take much damage even with the AoE resistance. So just keep that in mind. Yes, I know she exists, however, not one, because she's an MR unit, and two, she has a way more niche setup compared to the other units that I presented out of these three. She's kind of outclassed in those. She won't be the main user for this vision card, which is why I put her kind of as a tiny part. I know she can get like good usage out of it, just keep in mind it's going to be more relevant for the more stronger units that are available. So let's get to the good, the bad, and the worst. So first off, the good. It has high HP. It's not very high, which is like Bahamut tiers of levels, but it is still high HP. It has a decent amount of magic and a lot of dex, because it's like 47. That's a pretty good amount. Bestowed effects are decent, giving only 15 light attack only. I know I said only, however, 15 light attack is not a small amount, not a large amount. It's not like super great, but it's also not small. In comparison to like the tune-up vision card, the tune-up time vision card that I just had a video released for, 15 light attack is significantly better than only 10% attack stat. So just keep that in mind. The 15 modifier is way better than that regard. For the bestow for Jaden, however, it is a mixture of mediocre and good, as only 10% of HP for Jaden's already low base HP is not going to be much. However, the 30% increased AP is going to be very useful. For party effects, the party effects are going to focus mostly on the AoE resistance and the dex, with a small sprinkle of the missile attack, making it more defensively, more generally a defensive vision card. The AoE resistance is extremely valuable, especially against more meta matchups, like currently that can make up of very large AoE abilities, and or all matchups in general that have AoE. This means it's just a good setup in general for like a generic defensive setup. It's not targeted towards anything, however, it does cover a large variety of things. For the bad, stats on the vision card are mostly focused for Jaden, as the dex amount on the vision card itself is mostly going to really be benefiting Jaden over any other current light unit. There is not going to be many missile or dex oriented light units as of right now, or at least for even like 5 months. So yeah, it's really going to be for Jaden. We know already how Gumi's been making the more recent vision cards. Most of them have been targeted towards certain units. I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah. Also, no vision card ability on the bestow effect, so As I said, every video until they re-add those, I'm always gonna be like saying it, because why did they take it out? Those extra abilities on vision card made so much either fun things or like more cool effects to see. So I'm really dissatisfied with that. Bestow effects for Jaden feel really lackluster, and I mean by that because a 10% additional HP on a low base HP unit is very weak. It should have been at least 15% or maybe even 20%. If they really wanted to push his survivability, they would have done 15 or 20%. They know 10% HP is not enough. We know 10% HP is not enough because he has a low base HP amount. He is not getting enough for this in terms of HP. Like, it's really sad to see that type of balance for him specifically. They just kind of just slap that stat in there and like, you know, hopefully it'll be good. Or maybe even just give him more damage, give him more magic stat percentage or something. I don't know. Okay, but from here, the AP up is very nice to have. However, he will still need bells or still need multiple turns of AP like generation abilities, because even with his decreased AP consumption like used in tandem, his abilities are at a base amount still pretty high. So with the decreased AP consumption, they kind of balanced it so that it's more quote-unquote normalized. However, with the acquired AP up as well as on the Diamond Co, if you use it with it together, it's good. However, even his TP abilities do not have a large amount of AP generation, even with the extra like percentages of increased AP acquired. So yeah, I think bells are still going to be used there unless they give him an insane amount of AP generation up. It's still going to be needed. The dex percent is not going to be as useful to other stats that could have been like provided, maybe even like defense or accuracy or even agility 15%. I know agility 15% exists on the Ramza Beowulf vision card, but I'm just saying, for example, it would have been better than just dex percent because there is such a smaller amount of units or like usability of dex for the light units in general compared to what they can be using and or need to be using. So yeah, this vision card overall is actually not a good standalone vision card for Mono Light, and Missile Attack only really helps Jaden currently. I know El Sorel has dual gunner. There's still no EX for her, however. I know Fina exists, but as we said, we know like there are better options if you want her to deal actual damage. Like this vision card is definitely not going to be the one that enables her damage by a lot compared to her other options. And it's like it's not going to be anything surprising or crazy. Like there's just so many other things they can do. And there's no other light unit currently out that has missile damage that is going to be a high enough damage modifier with the VC equip itself, because it's also going to be targeted towards magic users. I know Camillo also exists with his sniper subject. However, that extra little bit of 18, was it 18? I think 18 missile attack is not going to be more beneficial than 35 light attack instead. Like there are better options for damage just in general. You're really using this vision card for mostly the AoE resistance and or if you have Jaden just slapping it on him. So now let's go to the worth. In the end, I do think the vision card is a 3.5 out of 5 with a specific or more defensive setup. The vision card really allows for a lot more defensive flexibility. It's not necessarily there for offensive like usability. The AoE effect can easily be replaced by Winter Holiday Party. Like if you don't have Jaden or like you have a light party and you don't want to really spend Visuor on this vision card, you can literally either use the Death Machine vision card or use the Winter Holiday Party. Like it will easily replace it and you don't actually lose too much in regard. Like it's pretty funny, but you don't really lose too much. Like if you want to min-max to the lot, like this vision card obviously is going to be better than Winter Holiday. However, if you don't want to and or you want your entire team to have maybe like an off tank that's not light element like King Mont, you can use a different vision card for AoE resistance and be just fine without this vision card. Now, the dex percent and the missile attack will primarily help Jaden. However, dex can still be used a little bit by Elena, who has a decent amount of good base dex, as not as high as Jaden obviously. However, there are a few other units that also have a decent amount of base dex. However, as I said, dex as a stat, in my opinion, is much less impactful compared to either luck percent, like for the same reasons, or like a different stat just in general. Like as I said, defense, accuracy, agility, maybe even like attack or magic percentage. Like there are definitely like places where they can be more beneficial in terms of stats. For light, I will say though, it is still one of the best vision cards defensively for the AoE situation, because it can be used with Bahamut for mono light team specifically to cover the single target and AoE situation. So this is a very good defensive setup. It also adds it adds to the numerous like defensive light vision cards we have, but because it's a magic based user for full, like if you want the full benefits, it has to be a magic based user, so it really does not feel that great. I also don't know why they did this for like the Carbuncle Vision card and all that. Like, we do have a lot of light magic users in the light element. However, it would be nice if we got a little bit more beneficial light vision cards for the physical attackers outside of like the few options we have. One of them being limited and another one being like more niche, or like really only helps for damage outside of like the evasion. So yeah, this vision card really is defensive, but it also targets mostly the magic based users. It covers the overall matchups for light in a general sense, and it can be used with the Signs of Shadow to heavily mitigate dark, or you could use Solids instead and like fight off Slash and more overall matchups. And what I mean by overall matchup is that if you don't know what you're specifically targeting, or if it's on your defense, for example on like Guild Wars, having single target and AoE resistance up at all is still mitigating almost all forms of damage just in general, which is still very effective. So yeah, it is a really good defensive setup. The vision card also allows for a bit of more defense flexibility rather than being more offensive based. What I mean by this is that, for example's sake, Jaden is not going to really be one-shotting units. He can 2 or 3 shot them, however, and by like increasing the survivability of himself and his team, it allows him to get more attacks off. Because even if you want full glass cannon, for Jaden specifically, he can't really one-shot units. I will say though, Elena and Summer Killfay definitely can one-shot units. I've seen it before, I've done it before. However, it's not the same with Jaden. And with this vision card setup, it's more defensive, so you're kind of expecting to take hits and returning hits at the same time. It's just overall in the vision card, I do think it's a very good defensive setup, so I give it a 3.5 out of 5. However, there are other vision cards as well in the light department that can do very good in terms of balancing offense and defense in this regard. And here we are at the example setup that I will probably be using, which is going to have the core as Jaden using the great Stag vision card himself. I also showed this on the Jaden unit preview because I do believe this is a very strong setup specifically against Dark. Not only is everyone like going to be benefiting off the AoE and single target resistance, but also the Dark resistance as well from Signs of Shadow. So the other units would be specifically Elena and Warrior Light. The situation here is going to be very wishy-washy, but what I'm planning or trying to do, since this is a sample setup, is having either Jaden open up with his own attacks to poke them down, or Warrior Light, because he has longer reach than Elena because of his Crystal Braver limit break, to set up a chain so that either Jaden can either finish off a kill, or Elena because of his 3 element chain, or just in general because he will be providing the light element as well. So yeah, this way is kind of like the offensive part is going to be working off the 35 light attack from Signs of Shadow. However, it is also having a lot of defensive capabilities to survive a little bit longer so that they can get enough damage out to like wipe the other team without being wiped out themselves. And yeah, basically we come to the end of the video. If you like it, please leave a like and or comment. And until the next video, peace out.